This is how one pictures the angel of history. His face is turned toward the past. Where we perceive a chain of events, he sees one single catastrophe, which keeps piling wreckage and hurls it in front of his feet. The angel would like to stay, awaken the dead, and make whole what has been smashed. But a storm is blowing in from paradise. It has got caught in his wings with such a violence that the angel can no longer close them. The storm irresistibly propels him into the future, to which his back is turned, while the pile of debris before him grows skyward. The angel of history. There are times when the child seems delicate, as if he had not yet crossed into the world. When French was the secret music of the street, the cafe, the train, my own receded and became intimacy and sleep. In the world it was the language of propaganda, the agreed-upon lie, and it bound me to itself, demanding of my life an explanation. When my son was born, I became mortal. Our days at Cape Anrage, a bleached shack of rented rooms and white air, April. At the low tide, acres of light, boats abandoned by water. While sleeping, the child vanishes from his life. Years later, on the boat from Beirut, or before the boat, an hour before, helicopters lifting a white veil of sea, a woman broken into many women. These boats, forgotten, have no keels, so it is safe for them, and the emptiness beneath them safe. April was here briefly, the breakwater visible, the lighthouse but no horizon. The music resembled April, the gulls, April, but you weren't walking toward this house. If the child knew words, if it weren't necessary for him to question me with his hands, to have known returning would be like this, that the sea light of April had been your vigilance. In the night-vaulted corridors of the Hotel Dieu, a sleepless woman pushes her stretcher along the corridors of the past. Bonjour, madame. Je m'appelle Ellie. There were trains, and beneath them, laddered fields. Autumns, the fields were deliberately burned by a fire so harmless children ran through it, making up a sort of game. Women beat the flames with brooms and blankets, so the fires were said to be under control. As for the children, they were forbidden to ask about the years before they were born. Yet they burned the fields, yet everything was said to be under control, with the single phrase, death traffic. This is Isieux during the war. Isieux and the neighboring village of Boigney-Cordon. This is a farmhouse in Isieux, itself a quiet place of stone houses over the Rhone Valley, where between Aprils 44 children were hidden, successfully, for a year in view of the mountains. Until the fields were black and snow fell all night over the little plaque which does not mention that they were Jewish children hidden April to April in Isieux near Boigney-Cordon. Comment vivons l'écriture? Comment devait d'oiseaux sur ma vitre en hiver? In every window a blank photograph of their internment. Within the house, the silence of God. 44 bedrolls, 44 metal cups, and the silence of God is God. In Pithiviers and Bonne-la-Rolande, in Les Milles, Les Tourelles, Moussac, and Aubonne, the silence of God is God. The children were taken to Poland. The children were taken to Auschwitz in Poland. singing Vous n'aurez pas le ça c'est la Lorraine. In a farmhouse still standing in Isieux, le silence des dieux est Dieu. In the night-vaulted corridors of the Hotel Dieu, it is winter. If a city, ruin. If an animal, hunger. If a grave, anonymous. If a century, this. Are the present 100 years a long time? But first, see whether 100 years can be present. We lived in Saint Monique Ward over the main corridor, Ellie and myself, in the Hotel Dieu on the Place du Parvis Notre-Dame. Below us, jonquils opened. Ellie was afflicted with scales again, tiny Ellie at the edge of her bed, peeling her skin from her arm as if it were an opera glove and weeping, "Cachet, cachet, cachet," all during the war. Barn to barn in the haylight, field to cellar, Winter took one of her sons, and her own attempt to silence him the other. Le Dieu est un fou, a psychopath. Le Dieu est fou. It isn't normal for a mother to outlive her children. It isn't normal that my sons should be dead. Paris, oh how I loathe this city because of its past. Then you wish to leave Paris? Mais oui, I wish to leave life, my dear. My parents deported, my aunts and uncles deported, my friends, all of them, deportees. I don't know what became of a single one, how they came to the end. My papers said I was Polish. When the money ran out, we ran. When the Nazis came, we ran. Cachet, cachet, cachet. The tubercular man offers his cigarette, and the snow falls patiently across the spring flowers. My life, triste. Do you understand? This place, no good. France, no good. Germany, no good. Ni l'Union Soviétique, fascist. It is no good. Then why not leave Paris? I am Jewish, do you understand? Alone, in a small room on the 3rd floor, always alone. To remain sane, I sing librettos to myself and German lullabies. Can you imagine? Mein Flügel ist zum Schwung bereit, ich kehrte gern zurück, denn blieb ich auch lebendige seit ich hätte wenig Glück. My husband was a soldier against the Nazis. Résistance. Agir. He wasn't killed in the war. He even returned to me. It was after the war he died. He died of cholera. And the world is worse now than it was then. Worse. Mais oui. We must wear our slippers and not smoke. We must not go further than the sign, no admittance. No, a little residue of nothing. An admittance, what does it mean? That they are not going to blame themselves for anything. But the deportees know there is nothing between the word and those who are not, who do not revient. And if language is an arbitrary system, one must not go further than the sign, no admittance, in the Hotel Dieu on the Place du Parvis Notre-Dame.